Iraq's Premier-designate Mohammed Alawi announced that he would submit his cabinet to a parliamentary vote within days, promising it would be stacked with independents. The country's capital and the south have been rocked by demonstrations since October, demanding an end to corruption and a total overhaul of the ruling class. Alawi, a two-time communications minister, has until March 2nd to propose ministers to parliament, which must grant them a vote of confidence. Saudi Foreign Minister Prince Faisal bin Farhan said no private messages or direct contact had taken place to ease tensions with Iran, and that Tehran first needed to change its behavior before talks can happen. Prince Faisal has stressed the kingdom is prepared to hold talks once Tehran acknowledges its hostile behavior and destabilizing influence on the region, including its firing of missiles at neighboring countries. Turning to Yemen, the minister said Riyadh will be committed to finding a way to dialogue and forge ahead if the Houthi militias were prepared to prioritize Yemen's interest, not Iran's. A Cairo criminal court sentenced the brother of a former Egyptian finance minister to 30 years in jail for smuggling antiquities out of the country. Raouf Ghali, the sibling of former finance minister Youssef Ghali, was sentenced to 30 years in jail and fined £6 million for his role in trafficking artifacts out of Egypt to Italy. He had 3 accomplices, including Italian ex-honorary consul to Egypt Ladislav Shakal, who was sentenced in absentia to 15 years in jail and £1 million fine. Signs of the deterioration in relations between Russia and Turkey to their lowest point in years were no longer limited to trading accusations over the situation in Syria's Idlib province. They have been demonstrated in the lukewarm response from the Kremlin to Ankara's request to hold a meeting between the two countries' presidents to contain the escalating crisis. They were also underscored through death threats received by Russian ambassador to Turkey, Alexei Yurkov. The tensions are reminiscent of the crisis that erupted in 2015. Diplomats from nations that lost citizens when Iran shot down a Ukrainian airliner pushed Iran's foreign minister for more cooperation from Tehran on the investigation and other issues. Amid heightened tensions with the United States, Iran said it accidentally shot the aircraft down January 8th after mistaking it for an incoming missile attack. All 176 people aboard the plane have died. The victims included 57 Canadian citizens as well as 11 Ukrainians, 17 people from Sweden, 4 Afghans and 4 British citizens, as well as Iranians. South Sudan President Salva Kiir said he was cutting the number of states from 32 to 10, unlocking a stalled peace deal and paving the way for the formation of a long-awaited unity government. Disagreement between Kiir and former rebel leader Riek Machar over the number of states, as well as a failure to integrate different fighting forces, have been major obstacles to completing the peace process. A failed 2015 peace deal increased the number of states from 10 to 32. Until now, the government had insisted on keeping that number, while the opposition had wanted alternatively 23 or 10. The Kingdom of Saudi Arabia ranked 6th globally according to the 2020 Agility Emerging Markets Logistics Index due to achievements by Saudi Customs. The root of the kingdom's gains are the transformative plans that compromise Vision 2030, its nationwide economic strategy that aims to open and diversify the domestic economy and integrate it more closely with the global market. The customs had helped the logistics sector through several initiatives, starting with the digital transformation of services. The customs worked on reinforcing technical and digital potential in customs work to provide innovative services that improve the client's experience. Turkish Vice President Fawad Oktay said Turkey has fulfilled its responsibilities in northwestern Syria region of Idlib in line with its de-escalation agreement with Russia and Iran after violence spiked in recent weeks. Ankara has said it will use military power to drive back region forces unless they withdraw by the end of February. President Tayyip Erdogan threatened to strike Damascus forces anywhere in Syria if another Turkish soldier was hurt. Thousands of supporters of Iraqi cleric Muqtada Sadr protested to support the sanctity of religious symbols a day after a march saw unprecedented public criticism of their leader. The cleric backs Mohammed Alawi, a premier designate rejected by most demonstrators as too close to the ruling class they have rallied against for months. Over the last 2 weeks, Sadr has sought to clamp down on the main movement and his followers have attacked rival demonstrators. German Chancellor Angela Merkel has expressed support to the Sudanese government during a meeting in Berlin with Prime Minister Abdullah Hamdok. Before Hamdok's arrival in Berlin, the German parliament decided to lift sanctions placed on Sudan since 1989 and to resume development, technical, political and financial cooperation between the two countries. Merkel said Germany could only begin to imagine how difficult the task is to tackle political and economic reforms. Lebanese Speaker Nabi Berri has received a cable from the European Union's top diplomat, Joseph Borrell, who stressed the EU's willingness to help Lebanon overcome its crisis. In the cable, Borrell said Friday that the EU is ready to help Lebanon out of its crisis and undertake fundamental reforms to preserve its stability and sovereignty. Berri discussed with French ambassador to Lebanon, Bruno Fouchel, on Friday the latest developments, as well as the deteriorating financial and economic situation. Adel Karim El Harouni, chairman of Ennahda Shura Council, has stated that the movement will not grant its confidence vote to Ilyas Fakhfakh's government, describing it as a cabinet of minorities. Harouni stressed Ennahda's call for the formation of a national unity government that brings together all parties represented in the parliament, such as the Heart of Tunisia and the Dignity Coalition. During a press conference at the party's headquarters in Tunis, El Harouni said Friday that Ennahda rejects the government line-up that was submitted by the designated Prime Minister to Tunisia, President Kais Saied. A Saudi fighter jet has crashed in the conflict-torn Yemen as the Houthi rebels said they downed the plane. Coalition spokesperson Colonel Turki Al-Malki said the Tornado aircraft came down on Friday in northern El Jouf province during an operation to support Yemeni government forces. The rebels reported multiple coalition airstrikes on Saturday in the area where the plane went down as local residents gathered near the debris, according to Al Misira. Americans will be removed from a cruise ship quarantined off Japan and flown home as dozens more cases of the new coronavirus were diagnosed on board. At least 284 people on the Diamond Princess have contracted the illness, but hundreds of passengers and crew have not yet been tested as they wait in a quarantine that was scheduled to end February 19th. In a message to Americans, the embassy said the U.S. government recommends, out of an abundance of caution, that U.S. citizens disembark and return to the United States for further monitoring.